What's going on, gamers? Here we are back with Small Aliens Fireteam Elite, and today I'll be going over what I believe are some of, if not the best attachments you can get in the game. So if you want to know what attachments to chuck on your weapons to get the best out of them, then stay tuned. That's coming up next. Welcome back, all you guys and girls. As always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, then why not hit that subscribe and bell icon. I'll bring you all the latest and greatest in hints, tips, guides and builds, and just some fun gameplay and reviews of upcoming games as well. But for today I'm here to tell you, or at least give you a little bit of advice, on what attachments I feel are probably the best to chuck on your weapons in order to maximise their potential. Now, just in case you didn't know, each weapon will have its own set attachments. So for example, if I go over to this right here, the Kramer, it will have a small muzzle, a small magazine and a medium optics. But that's not always the case. Not everything is designed the same and not everything has the same attachments. So if I go over to the CQW, it will have a medium muzzle, a tubular magazine and a small optics. However, I could go over to another handgun and it would be slightly different. So say for example I changed from the Kramer all the way over to the M10 auto pistol. When I pop over to its attachments, it will have a small muzzle, a small magazine and a small optics instead of the medium beforehand. Currently some weapon types, say for example the heavy, can only have some things like the Armatures. The best thing you can do is look at the ones I'm telling you and work out if they're going to fit into your build or the weapon type you're using and chuck on the one that you feel fits it best. So if we jump over to the attachments, you can see that you start off with the Armature, you pop down to the barrels, next up you have the magazines which come in small, medium, large, internal and tubular, the muzzles which again small, medium and large, and last but not least you've got the optics which are small, medium and large. So jumping straight in at the Armatures, and like I said, this is for the heavy weapons, and the first one I'm going to say is just over here, a nice easy one to use, a really nice one to have on any heavy weapon, max capacity armature. Max ammo and handling, really nice, and that max ammo really comes in handy for some of the weapons, for example the smart gun, one of the best things you can put on those in my opinion. Jumping over to the right and we've got the quick charge armature. This one gives you a really nice bit of reload speed at 25% and plus 15% fire rate, 30% stability on hit for 5 seconds. Does not stack. This one right here is really nice if you're trying to get a bit more rapid fire into your build with a nice bit of reload speed and stability. And jumping over to the last one I'm going to recommend for the armatures, and that's the deep rail armature. This one right here, really nice and simple, gives you a nice bit of reload speed at 30% and again max ammo. In a lot of these I'll be telling you to get max ammo, you really do need it whenever you can chuck it into your build, and the deep rail armature is a great one to put on your heavies. Jumping over to the barrels, and I'm going to kick it off with the hammer forged rifling. This one right here is a nice one to use and a lot of fun. Stumble chance is 25% and 50% chance on hit that enemies will deal 20% less damage for 5 seconds. This does not stack, but in some builds this can be a lot of fun and can really help your team to survive a lot of encounters. Don't count this one out, it can definitely work on some builds. Just jumping over to the right and we've got the hybrid rifling. Fire rate 20% and stability 30%. Again, really nice, just a quick easy one to chuck on and you know exactly what it's going to bring to the table. Nice bit of fire rate, nice bit of stability, always helps you to get a bit more damage out. Now lastly I'm going to go with the polygonal rifling. The fire rate is 20% again and 50% chance on hit that enemies take an additional 10% damage for 5 seconds. This effect can only occur once every 15 seconds, but it is really nice and I feel it works a little bit better than the one on the right, which is the progressive rifling. This one would work in those really big gun builds, so say for example you're going to use an RPG, this might be the one you want to chuck on if you're playing earlier game so you're not getting team damage and stuff. This could really net you some crazy numbers with the extra 10% damage. Overall, this one I feel works out a lot better in most builds. Polygonal rifling, chuck it on your build, you'll definitely find a lot of damage and a lot of fun with your guns. Jumping over to the magazines and we're going to kick it off with the small mags. Now this one I think is a really nice easy one to use, the drop magazine. Reload speed of 30% and the magazine capacity of 20%. Nice and easy, does exactly what it says on the tin, and reload speed is actually really helpful in nigh on all situations, as well as magazine capacity, meaning you'll be able to shoot a little bit more before you've got to reload in the first place. Next up, and I'm going to jump over to this one here, the quick loader. Now this one is just great, max ammo of plus 30% and refill 10% of the magazine on kill. Most time that's not the most bullets you'll ever see in the world, but anytime you can get extra ammo can really help out, and this one, if you're doing enough damage, can make it a lot of fun to use and net you a lot of extra ammo without you even realising. Last but definitely not least, and we're going to go with the tactical mag. Fire rate plus 20% and max ammo plus 35%. Ridiculously good on pretty much any weapon. Chuck this on if you can, you definitely won't regret it. Jumping down to the mediums, and we've got casket magazine. Fire rate plus 20% and max ammo plus 35%. Really nice all round, it just means you're able to keep your ammo up even though you're firing a little bit faster, netting you that extra damage overall in your runs. Jumping over here, and we've got alloyed magazine. Reload speed 25% and magazine capacity 25%. If you're trying to get a bit more extra magazine and you want to reload a bit faster, this is the one for you. Now next up, and the one I pretty much always find myself using, magazine capacity 20%, max ammo 20% and reload speed 25% when your magazine is empty with the drum magazine. This one right here, don't worry too much about reloading halfway through, just empty your complete magazine and it's going to reload a bit faster at the end, and you've got a nice bit of magazine and a nice bit of extra max ammo on your build. Jumping over to the large, and I'm going to kick it off with the armor piercing rounds. Magazine capacity plus 30% and 25% damage against armored targets. Although this doesn't come into play that often, that this can really help out if you're using a backup gun, and it can really decimate those foes that you might not have been able to otherwise. Next up, and we've got the assault magazine. This one has a fire rate of plus 20% and a reload speed of 30%, meaning if you feel you've got enough bullets, this right here is going to make sure that you keep firing and you're able to reload really fast and consistent in order to fire again. Really nice on a lot of weapons. Next up, and we've got the extended field magazine. Another really nice and easy one to use. It's going to give you magazine capacity 25% and max ammo 25%. If you want to be able to shoot a few more times and you want to make sure that you're lasting longer before you get to those ammo drops, this is the one you're going to chuck on your gun. Jumping over to the internal, and we're going to start off with the flared breech. This one right here, nice and easy to understand, fire rate 20% and max ammo 30%. A lot of times when you're using these internal magazines, you will need the extra ammo, so anytime you can chuck it into your build will really help you out. Next up, and we're going to bop to the left, and we've got augmented speed loader. This one right here gives you a lot of reload speed and a lot of stability. It can work on a few guns, but I'd say it's probably going to be best on the Pike sniper rifle for the Season 1 update. You're going to need some reload speed in there somewhere, and some stability will really help it out, so this may well be the one for that. And lastly, I'm going to jump over to this one right here, phosphorus munitions. Max ammo 35%, like I said, a lot of times you're going to be relying on that, it really can help, and this one's quite a fun one, 25% chance on kill to leave behind a small fire patch, 2.5 meter radius that deals 100 thermal damage per second for 4 seconds. I really like the idea of this, and it can definitely work, and you can have a lot of fun with this in certain playstyles. It's not going to be for everyone, but when you can make this work, it is a lot of fun, especially if you're doing earlier missions or earlier difficulty settings, should I say, and you've got, say, for example, a flamer on. Jumping over to the tubular magazines, and I'm going to say this one right here is just amazing. Field reserves, reload speed of 30% and max ammo of 30%. This can really help you, especially with that reload speed on those weapons that are a little bit lackluster or have got really high reload speeds. This is definitely one of the best ones that you can put on, chuck it on your weapon, and you can have some more reserves and be able to reload a lot faster. Next up, and we've got this one right here, overloaded rounds. Another fun one to use, gives you a little bit of magazine capacity of 15% and triggers a small thermal explosion on weak point hit, 5% hit damage within a 2.5 meter radius. This is a little bit of a niche one again, but when you can make it work, it is really fun, and it can do quite a bit of damage as long as you can shoot a little bit faster. Definitely won't work on every gun, but if it is a gun where you can do quite a bit of damage at not a bad pace, this can definitely be a good one to chuck into your build. Next up, and priming magazine. This one has great reload speed with 25% and 30% fire rate for 6 seconds on reload. Again, this can work really well. If you're using this on a weapon where you reload quite often, it means you're going to get that 30% fire rate and you can really do a lot of damage. That with the reload speed can really help you out to kick a lot of bullets into those enemies where before you'd have been struggling. Jumping over to the muzzle category, and we're going to kick it off with Slide Compensator Small Muzzle. This right here is a really nice easy one to use, nice bit of stability and a nice bit of weak point damage. Will just work on any weapon you want to chuck it on and will really help you to get those precision shots and up the damage of each one of them that's hitting that weak point. With stability 30% and weak point damage of 20%, one of the best ones you can chuck on for the small muzzles. Next up, and jumping over to the right, we've got Vented Flash Hider. This one has weak point damage of 25% with a 5% range on hit for 3 seconds, stacks up to 5 times. The range on hit isn't bad in the slightest, but again we're going for that weak point damage just to up our damage overall and to make it so that it's really doing the job. Lastly, if you're after a bit more fire rate in your build, this one right here is a must. Recoil Booster, fire rate 20% and stability 30%. Really nice for just getting the job done, having a lot of stability in your build and being able to shoot that target a little bit faster. Kicking off the mediums, and we've got the Boosted Flash Hider. This one's one I've only recently started using and it's now quickly become probably one of my favourite. The effective range is 25%, meaning that you won't have as much fall off, which is really good, and before I wasn't using this because you haven't got the initial damage. But once you do get that kill, you get the highest weak point damage of any of the medium attachments, and I think of any of the attachments in the game if I remember correctly, at 40% weak point damage for 5 seconds on kill. This effect does not stack, however you're still getting that 40% for 5 seconds. If you're using a chunkier gun that's kicking out a bit of damage, this really can do the business, and I think it may be the best one you can put on in slot as long as you're getting those kills. Next up, and we've got the Ported Compensator. This one right here is just really nice for an extra bit of fire rate and a nice bit of stability. Fire rate 20%, stability of 30%, really easy to use, and it's going to make sure that you rapid fire and that you're hitting what you aim for. Next up, and we've got the Precision Break Medium Muzzle. This right here does weak point damage 20% and effective range 30%. Means there's going to be less fall off and you're just going to have that weak point damage from the offset. Really nice, really easy, and you just don't have to think about this one. It's just going to do exactly what it says and be in effect the whole time. Jumping down to the large, and we're going to go with this one right here, the Precision Hilder. Nice bit of stability with 30%. It's a large one as well, meaning that you're going to have this on the bigger weapons that usually need a bit of stability, and it gives you that initial weak point damage. Definitely one of the best ones you can put on and not have to worry about things because it's just going to do exactly what you think it is. Next up, and we've got the Tanker Muzzle Brake. This one again may be a bit of a niche one. I find that this can definitely work on some weapons and it's a lot of fun to use. This gives you weak point damage of 20%, stumble chance of 10%, effective range of 10%, but the fun part right at the bottom is the 33% chance to briefly stun enemies on hit. This effect can only occur once every 15 seconds, but it's just to basically affect those targets that you're not able to actually one pop. If you can't get a headshot on something and it's not going to fall over, this does work really well, and it's a nice fun one to put on some weapons just to make sure you can get that second or even third hit on the head without having to worry about them moving if you're lucky. Lastly, we're going with the Calibrated Hider. Weak point damage of 20% and handling of 30%. Again, you're using this on those big chunky weapons, big chunky damage. Weak point damage is right up there with a little bit of extra handling, means it's going to be easier to hit those targets. This right there works on pretty much any weapon you want to chuck it on. Jumping over to the optics, and before I kick this off, I must admit, in most cases, I tend not to use the ones that zoom you fully in with a scope. So if you prefer that, take this with a complete pinch of salt, as you will probably not like the ones that I'm recommending. I tend to go with the ones with a bit of zoom if I can, but they make sure that you still are able to see around yourself, because a lot of times when you're completely zoomed in, there's not too many complete open areas in this game, meaning that you're going to get hit by something from the left, from the right, or even from in front of you without you being able to see it. So I prefer the ones that aren't completely scoped in. That being said, the first one I really enjoy using is this one right here, and I feel it's probably the best in slot when you can put it on most times, and that's the Hybrid Sight. accuracy of 30% and weak point damage of 20%. Just does the job. Nice bit of accuracy, meaning you're going to hit those shots, and weak point damage is always a must on these optics if you can get them. Next up, we've got the micro red dot sight. I enjoy using this one an awful lot on a lot of weapons. Sometimes I'll put this on weapons that I probably shouldn't even use it on. Sometimes I'll even use it on shotguns and such, just because I like the zoom magnification of 10%. It's still got a bit of weak point damage and a nice bit of handling. It gives you 5% aim assist on hit for 3 seconds, and this effect stacks 5 times. Obviously, if you can, chuck this on a medium range weapon, it will really help you out, and it's just a general nice one to have and an all around nice sight. Lastly, and I've just started using this, if you can, chuck this one on the ones that give you a bit of extra damage on your bullets. The higher the damage on your bullets, it means this is going to affect it. The micro dot sight comes with accuracy of 15% and effective range of 15%. What I like about this is the plus 10% damage with the minus 10% fire rate while standing still. Again, the Chroma is a classic example. You're just going to chunk out those bullet damage, and if you're not the best with headshots or weak point damage, this might be one. If you want to reserve a little bit of ammo and you feel like you're getting enough damage from your per bullet, this right here can definitely help and be a lot of fun in the process with those big numbers popping up on your screen, even if you're not always managing to get in the shots you want. It probably won't work out quite as well as if you could hit every weak point damage, but if you're not able to do that, this is definitely one that you should give a try. Going over to the medium scopes, and we've got green dot sight. This has weak point damage of 20% with effective range of 30%, just great on pretty much everything. Chuck it on your gun and you'll get a lot of damage and you'll have a lot of effective range. It's definitely one of the best ones you can chuck on. Next up, we've got the hybrid. This has accuracy of 25%, zoom magnification of 50%, and again, like one of the ones before I mentioned, 10% damage and minus 10% fire rate while standing still, meaning if you are using those chunkier weapons, it can really help you out, and it's a lot of fun to see those big numbers pop up on screen. Hopefully you'll be able to 1 or 2 shot pretty much everything you're aiming at with this scope. Lastly, we've got the red dot sight. This one right here is a little bit of everything. It's not amazing, but it kind of does a little bit of everything. It has a little bit of accuracy at 15%, weak point damage of 15%, effective range 15%, and zoom magnification 10%. I don't think this will be for everyone, and it's probably not the best one to put on, but it may well fit into your build and it may be to your playstyle, so give it a try and see how you feel when you're using it. Finally, we've got the large optics. So these are going to be for probably your biggest damage weapons, such as your snipers and such. We'll start off with an absolute beast, and that's the tactical scope. Weak point damage of 25%, zoom magnification of 25%, and enemies are revealed for 5 seconds on weak point hit. Don't worry too much about the reveal, it can be nice, but the main thing you're going for is that weak point damage and zoom magnification, which works really well on pretty much all of your builds. Next up, and just probably the best all-rounder, it's not going to do quite as much weak point damage as the last one, but I feel this may be a slightly better one to use on a lot of weapons, and that's the digital scope. This has accuracy of 20%, weak point damage of 15%, handling of 20%, and zoom magnification of 10%. A great all-round one for boosting a lot of your stats. If you need a little bit of boost to accuracy, if you need a bit of boost to your handling, and of course it's got a nice chunk of weak point damage, this will definitely help out and is one of the best ones you can chuck on, although it doesn't do quite as much weak point as the tactical scope before it. Lastly, and if you are after one that completely fully replaces your down sights with a full scope, I'd probably recommend the 4x illuminated scope right here. This one has a nice chunk of accuracy at 15%, weak point damage at 15%, and effective range 20% with a zoom magnification of 25%. And like I said, it will remove your aim down sights and give you the scope in place of it. So if you are after that, if you're great at sniping, this may be one that you'll want to have a look at. Roll your gamers, I hope that's helped a few of you guys and girls out. As always, take it with a pinch of salt. Some people will prefer different attachments. If you think I've completely missed one, then chuck it down the bottom in a comment. But as always, Full Things Gaming, Full Things Xbox, take care. I'll see you all next day.